Hey, this is Dave with Rough Notes Magazine. We're all about helping agents and brokers thrive, and we're impressed with what you're doing. Can we feature you and your team on our front cover?
Brett, tell me the feeling you had when you heard that your agency was going to be on the cover of Rough Notes magazine.
Probably like every other person that gets that call, in shock a little bit. It's something that we've been reading for in this agency. My dad's read it for years and years, and to be able to, represent our agency, to be able to put our message out, the word out. That's who we are, what our staff does each and every day. It was a great honor to be able to be picked for this.
So for you, front cover listeners, just so you know, uh, Brett and I have known each other for probably 4 or 5 years. He was
Yeah.
briefly in our mastermind, until he developed his own. I remember why he came in there. Now, as you know, front cover listeners, I know a lot of these agents, but I'm going to act like that I don't here, so that we can keep it raw, and to the point. You know, I guess now that I think about it, I guess you kind of have one up on Dad, right? Right?
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
be like, "Hey, Dad, you ran this thing for a while. They've been doing this since, the '90s, Dad. I've only had the realm,
Yeah.
or the helm for so long." So, no, I'm just saying, but I guarantee you that's going to be a dig eventually, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of, bringing him into light because he obviously has helped build this thing
Yeah,
way much longer
totally.
than I have. And so to be able to recognize him and him be able to see
Yeah,
everything that he's built, the legacy, that's a huge honor. So I won't take too many
yeah.
digs at him.
Yeah, well, we'll wait until you're retired and he's old and you guys are fishing. You'll be jabbing him with it all the time, believe me. I'll be like, "Yeah, who got the front cover, Dad?"
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, you couldn't be who you are. Tell us who you are, man. Give us a little lowdown. Where you at? What's your
Sure.
agency look like? What's your goals? Give us that feel, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brett Merrill, Merrill Insurance Group is our name. We're based out of Florida, near Orlando. So we're
Bam.
located in Eustis. Great part of the state to be in. Always on the water, always outdoors. So it's very much a part of who we are as an agency, and as personally as well. AC's been around since 1925. My father bought it from the original owners in 1986, and it has been in our family ever since.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
been around a little bit.
Do you have any brothers or sisters in? Is it nepotism all the way?
Yeah, no. So I have an older brother who was in the business with me for about 17 years, and realized that he wanted to be his own entrepreneur. So he went out and he owns a construction company now, very successful and doing great things. So and now it's just me and my dad.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
cool. You don't get that a whole lot, but you do hear of those scenarios. Now, a
yeah.
lot of times, like the son or daughter will leave and they'll go to like a carrier or
Right.
to a bigger broker, but your brother just went the complete opposite way.
He did. He came in one day and he goes, "Hey, my brother's very good with his hands, and he's very entrepreneur. He loves just to take things from startups and try to grow them." And so he
Wow.
said, "Hey, I'm going to try it." Obviously, I think he knew
Wow.
that if it didn't work out, that there's always an opportunity here for him. So he
Mhm.
he went and did it, and he's been out now for 7 years, no looking back.
Why did dad and you win this, you think? Or not win, but why were you guys graced with being on this front cover? If you could pick out one thing, if you could pick out one thing, Brett.
That's a great question. Obviously, in this business, it's people that you're around, people hearing your story, relationships really, really matter. And I think we
Mm,
have come and try to build this as humbly as possible. Obviously, we're very competitive, but we have just tried to make sure that people we are around are bettered by us. And so I think
mm.
ultimately it comes down to relationships and trying to offer agencies some successes that have happened in our life. So, but if I had to narrow it down to one word, it's relationships for sure.
Okay, okay. And I don't think that can be said too much. I think when we say what separates us and we say customer service, I think that could be true, but that's what everybody says.
Right.
Now, I think everybody can say relationships. Because first of all, I think if you're even agent who just wants to be at 500 or $1 million in revenue and just chill, right? It's still built on relationships.
Yeah.
How big you want to grow. My buddy Billy Williams says that your network is directly proportional to your net worth. And I think it goes back to relationships work. And the bigger you want to make that network, I think that's what's going to help you. So you guys big, maybe you said it and I missed it. Were you guys big commercial, personal lines? What's that makeup look like?
Yeah, the makeup of our agency is 70% commercial, 25% personal lines, and then we have about a 5% group health side of our agency.
And you've got a good size agency, so that 5% is pretty good size there for the group health.
Yes, yeah, it's pretty good. Yes, sir.
I figured so. And then so you guys are heavily involved, I assume, in the community. A lot of things that you guys do, building those relationships. How are you building those relationships that make that the most important thing in your agency?
Yeah, so we are like every agency where we have our things that we give to, that we serve at. I think one is the longevity. With today's market and a lot of the agencies being bought up, being able to stay independent, being able to stay out in the community, seeing the name around the billboards, being at events, people just like, okay, these guys have been here for a while, so let's give them an opportunity to look at our insurance. So I think the staying power is part of us being in the community. I always say it to our team, like, we want to be a part of the community and we want to serve the community, but we don't necessarily have to have them always come back and serve us. We want to serve them more than they're serving us.
That's right. Brett, something that's going to tell us a lot about you. So mentorship is something that's important. Okay. How old are you, Brett?
I'm 39.
39. So leadership and mentorship is something that's just vital, right? So throughout your life, and you can't say dad, okay? You can't say dad because that's an easy out, even though it's probably the biggest truth. I got to get your brain thinking somewhere else. Think of 2-3 mentors that you've had in your life, right? Maybe in your 30s, your 20s, maybe it was in high school, maybe it's somebody you met when you were younger. Think about 2 or 3 of them. And it's weird what makes you think of those 2 or 3, but now I want you to pick one, right? Now take them, sort them out. You got one. Yeah. Now it's not important who that person is to us because we don't know them, but obviously honor them by saying their name and giving them the proper deserve. But what is the thing that made it stand out in your brain? What's the story? What's the relationship? What's the encounter that you had with that person? And then I'm going to follow it up with this. So why did you think of them? And then what have you brought to your agency that's been impactful from what they taught you? Okay? Yeah. Think of that one person. Go.
Yeah, great question. First mentor that I ever had was obviously besides my father, but was Ken Hoffman. So Ken Hoffman. Yeah, so Ken Hoffman, he's since passed away, but he was a client of mine. And he was a gentleman that had a lot of experience growing businesses. He took a liking to me, so it became more than insurance. And I got to see inside of his business how he made decisions. We would go to sporting events together. I was almost like his son. And so he made a huge impact on me. And honestly, my COO right now is a direct result of that relationship. He said, Brett, hey, you need to bring in Katie. And at the time, Katie was still in high school. So I'm much older than she is. She was in high school. And he said,
what vision.
This one's going to be a superstar for you. And her mom worked for him. And so I was like, okay. And then he called me one day. He said, hey, she graduated college. She's got a great resume. And so I interviewed her one day. And the rest is history. She was in our agency for 2 years before, from new and then 2 years she was helping me run the business.
Man, that's great. That's some good stuff right there because, what vision for him to be able to see that in people. People like that are so crazy, and especially us that are in our 20s and 30s. And it used to be for me. And that we meet these people who are in their 70s, 80s, they're not with us anymore, but they've made so much impact, right? And I think it's important to realize that you'll be that one day, right? And I think that sometimes, what was it, Hoffman? What was his first name?
Yeah, Ken
Hoffman. I think it's important. They say that you die twice. You die the first time you die the last time they say your name. I think it's important, and sometimes that's why you tell that story over and over so that people make sure that they had an impact because Ken may not have an impact like that on anybody else, and maybe he probably did, but he's passed it on for you to make that impact by being on the front cover is part of that. There's going to be people that are going to talk to you at events, ask you secrets. And in a way, you're kind of sitting down just like Ken. You just don't realize it. That's the beauty of mentorship.
He definitely was a giant in my life. And the great thing is, I learned to be quiet when I was around him and just write things down, wrote everything down. And I would just listen and listen and listen. And then I would just execute. That was the biggest thing is he taught me how to execute. You can't just think all day. You've got to come up with the great ideas, and then you got to go put them in place.
Execute it. That's right. That's exactly right. All to you front cover listeners, just as a little sidetrack here, if you go over to Agency Intelligence, which is the same spot you found this, and you go to the podcastnetwork.com, look us up there, go all the way back to like 2017. I think you can even search it. The greatest mentor ever. I did a podcast with my mentor, who is now 81 years old. Very similar, meant a lot to me. I met him when he was 55. I was right in my mid 20s. It was a very, very big deal. He had that same impact, and I actually brought him on the podcast and had him talk about why he and how he did it. And it was really amazing because he said he never knew he was a mentor. The only thing he was doing is he saw somebody. This is what he said, and I include everybody in this. He said, Jason, do you know why you were successful? He told me this a couple years ago. I said, why? He said, because you had the audacity to do what I asked you to do. And when I saw that you were going to do that, I wanted to pour everything I could into you. He didn't realize he was a mentor. He was just trying to pass along what he knew to somebody who was actually going to use it. And I think there's a lot for young people to do. Are you going to use that advice that somebody gives you? Because if you are, they're probably willing to pour more back into you. So sorry about that. That was just a little rant. Sorry about that. Brett, any thoughts on that?
No, successful people, they've got a finite amount of time and they're going to accomplish a lot of things. So if you are able to listen and execute and they see that, exactly what you said, they'll pour more and more time into you. And that's any young person coming up through this business. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be transferred between now and whenever the agency principal or your mentor leaves the business. And so if you take notes and execute on it, you'll always be successful, and you'll always continue to have those people that are speaking into your life because they know you're a man or woman of action.
That's right. That's right. Marketing. Let's switch over to marketing. Think of all the marketing you're doing. It's amazing being an independent agent because really we can spend a lot on marketing or we can spend a little bit on marketing, and it means that we only make a little bit, which we still make a lot, or we can make a lot, which is usually a lot, right? This is an interesting business. I mean, think of all the other businesses that spend 20, 30, 40, 50% of their revenue on marketing. And the average agency is spending about 6%. And I would be willing to say that that's probably lower than that. But for you, for marketing, what are some of the things you're doing? Some of the things you do for free, some of the things that you're paying for? Any success out there?
Yeah, honestly, we probably don't do a great job of marketing. It really does come back to relationships. I mean, we probably spend 1% of our budget on marketing, if I'm being
right,
transparent. But what we do is we really focus on the clients, and we focus on, okay, how can we, from this relationship, what are the things that they like, they want, and we try to give that back to them. Through special gifts. I mean, when you're sitting in a client's office and you're looking on their walls and you see that they like fishing or like sports, what can you do outside of just writing the policy and doing your renewals to make them feel special? Because if you're not focusing on them, somebody else will. And so we spend a lot of time and a lot of money on that type of the marketing. Of course, we're going to do like everybody else and put the banners on the booster clubs and to do the parades and things like that. But I think that we really try to put our marketing budget into each and every client that we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brett, you have any kids?
I do. I have 3. So I have a 12-year-old son named Camden, a 10-year-old daughter named Charleston, and I have a 3-year-old. The first two look nothing like me. The third one, that 3-year-old, is a fiery redhead, so she is keeping
Okay.
the redheaded genes going for sure.
She kept the ginger going.
She kept the
Yeah,
ginger going. Absolutely.
that's right. You never missed hardly a game or a recital, did you?
No, I haven't.
It's a beautiful industry,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is. It allows you a lot of opportunities to create those memories with your families for sure. Sure.
Unbelievable.
Yes,
Never
sir.
thought it. You drive by, they say this is where my grandma and grandpa went to go to buy their insurance. I don't know if really people ever think
Yeah.
that. That's just what we always say. But let's just say they do because it doesn't look very exciting from the outside. We all know how boring banks are. That's probably what they compare us to, Brett.
Yeah.
And they have no idea the fun, the excitement, the culture, the career paths, the self-esteem that gets built every day inside of this. And there's a huge power, right, in knowing something that other people don't. And people who, we were scared when Google came out. We were scared when YouTube came out that, oh my gosh, people aren't going to call us for information anymore. They're going to,
Yeah.
well, it's a little different. They sometimes educate themselves. They still end up calling us. It's still based on what you say, relationships. And so that's key. With that as your guys' guiding light, there's no wonder you guys are successful. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Brett, anything else? And you have a lot of stuff going on. I know you do. So, I mean, we've talked about marketing. Is there anything else that when you're driving down the road and you're thinking, man, I'm going to go talk to Cass about front cover, or when you were talking with the writer on the physical paper, physical magazine, excuse me, was something that maybe you talked about that you maybe want to share?
Well, I have a unique perspective right now. So what most people don't know is, in July 17th of last year, I bought the agency 100% from my father. So a
Okay.
big part for me is not allowing my father's legacy or family's legacy to crumble in my hands. Which, there's a difference between helping guide the agency and then having that ownership where it's like, hey, you know, I have nowhere else to go. If we do not make this work, everybody else can find a job. I cannot find a job. So that's a different level of responsibility, if that makes sense. So, but what happened, and I think hopefully the story when it comes out, it will kind of shed some light on this, is bought it in July 17th, 2024. In January 2025, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was basically out of our office from January to July, essentially. So July 8th, I was told I was cancer free. So
No.
the whole premise is with a legacy, you have to build a team around you. So for 5 months, I was out of this office, and our business grew. So for a lot of agency owners, we always are trying to protect everything else, but it's like the cobbler's son. The cobblers, he makes shoes for everybody else, but their sons don't have really good shoes. We don't take our own advice. And so there was a lot of things that I finally took seriously and started putting into place so that our business, when I was out of it, nobody left. Typically when the owner or the leadership, somebody gets sick, people are looking for the exit, saying, we don't know what's going to happen. The other portion of that is we grew. The team rallied. And so that is just a testament of the type of people that we have here, who we want to bring in this business as we continue it, hopefully for the next 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing this series called the Executive Sessions, and yesterday I met with the COO of IPFS face to face, and I, it has to do. We talked so much about the same thing. We talked about our people being our assets, and it's funny because we can't put them on our balance sheet.
Mm.
We have to list them as a liability to the government, and I know that's just for tax and money purposes, but
Yeah.
that's really the way that we should be looking at them. There should be a thing on our balance sheet, just like, hey, how much equity do you have in your building? But, how much is that person making you of that? Because really, if that person leaves, you're going to lose money. Maybe not all of it, but those are the things. You're so right. The other thing, what was really weird, and I want to get your take on this. We read a book together at our book club for our business, and we read Be Entrepreneurial 2.0. I had read Be Entrepreneurial a long time ago. Now he kind of redid it. And one of the things was when we read it all on our very first meeting about it, I said, hey, to give me your takeaway, what was one of the main things that you thought? Now, here's the deal. Before they do it, Brett, they have to write down what their takeaway was so that when one person starts talking, they don't all of a sudden start jumping on, right? So they had to write it down. And then I said, okay, everybody's going to read it. So we started with our youngest in our agency, and we went all the way to I was the second oldest, and then we have a senior account manager. She's 49. And we went all the way. Here's what was amazing. On everybody about 35 or 40 younger, values were the most important thing to them. Were we living by integrity? Were we living by trust? Were we living by the things that we say we were doing? It was amazing. Like almost every one of them said exactly that. Everybody about 35, 38 and older, which was only about 3 or 4 of us, we all wrote down our people. Wasn't that wild? Yeah. I was blown away by that. And no one else caught it. I did. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody's talking about values. We get over here and everybody starts talking about people. And it makes me wonder, because I remember when I was in my 20s, I wanted that mission statement. I wanted those core values. And those are important today. Do not get me wrong. I'm not downplaying those. But I realized that having good people creates good culture, which now starts to create good and emphasize our good values, right? And so, but they hadn't, because they haven't been in the position we're in, Brett. Yeah. What do you think about that, buddy?
I think that is very, very insightful. Today's younger generation, any of them can go online and make money. It's not about the money. I mean, yes, money is important, but they can all do it themselves. They don't need us, but they want the connection. They want the values. Are you going to do what you say you're going to do? Because as a leader, sometimes we say things and then we just go about our day and we forget. Well, they remember. You asked about marketing, kind of wrap this back in, is one of the things that we've done is we've taken in 2021, we created Merrill Missions with the purpose of doing things outside of the community. What I realized in 2022 is, there's a huge mission field in our agency. And so we've taken a lot of those funds and we've turned those inside to our people. The amount of impact that has had on, for business owners, the bottom line, undeniable. But the amount of value we have created in relationships out of that has been game changing. You listen to your people and you find out what their bucket list items are, and you help them get those. Nobody's going to come steal them from you. You see a need, you feel a need. We have a couple single parents in here. They've got to move around. You help them get that apartment. You help them get a car. You help them insert whatever. You start focusing on your people inside with the values that you say you have, with the resources that you have. You won't have turnover. You won't have trouble finding talent. None of those things will be an issue for you, I promise.
We're going to wrap it up there because there's nothing better to be said there. There's no really other questions I can ask that's going to get anybody who's going to be listening to this to say, well, I didn't get anything out of it and I wish I knew. Because if you didn't, you're not listening to the sympathy. You're not listening to the empathy. You're not listening to the fact that Brett is a listener. He understands that he's weak on certain areas and he finds people to fill those. These are the things. And if you're older and you've been in this business for a while, you know these things, but are you passing it on? Right? Anything you want to wrap up with, buddy?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I just focus on your people and your business will grow, be successful, and you'll have a lot of options and just invest in the relationships that are right in front of you and the ones that are around you, and good things will always come.
Man, thank you very much. And congratulations once again. I appreciate that. And I'm going to just, cause I'm a squirrel type of guy. I'm going to end this with a little, Billy Wagner thing that connects to what, Brett said, but just, I said the word congrats. Do you know if you write the word congrats in an email and you send it to somebody, it hyperlinks it on the other person's side. And if they scroll over it, it puts confetti on the screen. You think I'm lying? You're thinking, no way, Cass. If you're listening to this in front of your computer, do it. And then go to chat and ask chat what other words. I think thank you, congrats. There's like 5 or 6 words. I didn't know this. And neither did you. But that's what you get for listening to Front Cover. Not only to get Brett Merrill and all the fan-frickin-tastic things that he's doing. Like I said, I know him personally. He's leading by example. I got to tell you, I fell in love with him more just here, and it's not because he's got that beautiful red hair. It's just because, I listen to that, and this is what we do, right? This is where the elder generation has a hard time going away and going to the digital. They feel as if they're losing that relationship. And in a way they are, because the way they've built relationships is not the way it's built today. So I think as young people, we need to be respectful of that. But we also, as the older generation, we have to understand that they're our future. And are we passing it on? I think that's important. But are we showing empathy and care? Brett talked about something there at the very end that was very important. Got a lot of money. We all do as agency owners. I'm not saying him. Okay. We have money to give back to our community. That's one of the things we do. And he expressed something. He expressed that his community is even the people that are inside his office. I don't think I understand. I don't think you understand how powerful that is. Billy Wagner told a story about one day that one of the most impactful things he did. And here's the thing. He didn't tell the story. The lady he did this to, she was 2 or 3 kids. Can't remember exactly. They live in Florida, Jacksonville. And she'd lived in this apartment for 5, 6, 7 years. Her kids couldn't go outside unsupervised. You know what apartment complex is. If you're protective of your kids or whatever, you have to go with them, all that stuff like that. And she'd expressed that to him. So he sat down with her and built out a plan for the next 3 years that guaranteed that she'd be in a house with a backyard within 2 years. He didn't buy it for her. What he did is he gave her the resources and the skill and the time and the education and the guidance and the direction to show her how to get to where she wanted to get. And it was before 2 years that she was living in that house. Now, I don't know about Billy Wagner, but you could almost pass from the face of the earth after you do something like that. And I think you're a great person. Not only are you a great person, but you're thinking outside the box about the people who are your biggest asset. And I congratulate Brett on that. I do. Brett, congratulations for beating cancer, man.
Thank you so much.
That's just that's more proof to modern medicine, more proof that that's not a death wish all the time. And man, you're going to enjoy the rest of your life. I'm fantastic, Brett. Thank you very much for doing what you do. What you do makes us look good, and that's what matters. All you Front Cover listeners, I do this, and I do it for you. You know that I do, because I absolutely love it. Thank you very much for being a Front Cover listener. And I will actually tell you that I think, I'm looking at the date right now. It's September 25th. Brett is actually coming out in November. So think about that, Brett. They're listening to this and it's in November right now. Usually probably around the 1st to 10th. That's so wild thinking about that right now, isn't it?
That is crazy.
But also in October, I want you guys to remember, if you go back, maybe you missed it, go back to the magazine on the front cover. Not only is that, but is also the agencyintelligencemanual.com, a little QR code for it, agencyintelligencemanual.com. Absolutely free, shows you how to create a logic routing engine in your agency. You Front Cover listeners, thank you very much. I've been Jason Cass. This is Brett Merrill, and we are out. All right.